Alright, welcome to the Wet, Wild, and Warpy 40k chat. For today, we are going to be doing an unboxing of the Valeria and Aleya models, I guess,
Valerian.
because they're two models. Uh, so they fit in the Custodes faction, and so below me is Alex Killen, and to my right is Larry Oliver. Hey, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. Alright, I gotta do a little else. So why don't we go? Oh, so the model for this video was provided by Born to Game. Check out their website in the description below. They graciously supplied us with this model so that we could do this video. So let's get started. Let's see that model. Show me that
All
model.
right. Well, I got the box. Go ahead and rip this bad boy open without destroying the box. All right. So, got to do this so you guys can see it. But so on the box it says that Shield Captain Valerian and Aleya were part of Black Library Celebration for 2020, and their novels in which they are characters are the Watchers of the Throne, the Emperor's Legion, and Watchers of the Throne, Regent Shadow. So,
Have
classic
you actually read these
sprue.
books?
I
I've
have not read the book.
mostly because I don't know how to read. No, uh, I should read. I should read more.
Classic sprue. Is the sprues in here? Nope, just two bases. And then our instruction booklet. So, they are going to be on two different base sizes because Valerian is a shield captain and Aleya is a Sister of Silence. So, this is not a easy build kit, so there's no push together. But that's fine. Should be easy enough. Can I bring my glue over here?
All right, so let's see. Let's check them out as far as what they do on the battlefield real quick. So Valerian moves 6 inches, has a 2-up weapon skill, 2-up ballistic skill, strength 5, toughness 5, 6 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 9, and then a 2-up normal save. He
That's pretty
has,
standard for a shield
yeah.
captain.
Well, it's pretty standard for Custodes, really, in general. And then he has his primary weapon is spelled Gnosis. I've decided I'm not going to try to say that word because,
Gnosis.
yep, thank you. Uh, it has a 24-inch range. It's rapid fire 1, strength 4, -1, 2 damage, and then in melee he gets +2 to his strength. So he comes in at strength 7, -3, D3 damage. Um, let's see. So he comes stock with Inspirational Fighter. So you reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by models in the yeah. So Custodes within 6 inches reroll hit rolls of 1. So I believe shield captains do that just naturally. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I love reading the rules for these small models, and I go, "Hey, that hits for more attacks and higher strength than my
Yeah.
Swarm Lord.
Yeah.
hive turns."
Oh, your hive tyrant.
Hive turns.
Uh,
Alright,
Did-
so a quick comparison for you guys. I pulled up the shield captain profile. So his spear, Gnosis, has 1 extra strength to it, which, yeah, that's all good. But
Extra strength 7 doesn't do a lot in melee, I don't think.
yeah, it's not that good, especially when they can have a Castellan axe, which does the same exact profile.
um, so these two do come as a pair though, and they total 200 points.
Yeah.
So if
Yes,
you
I
look,
was reading about how that works, and they're both characters. They're one unit, but when you deploy them, they don't need to be deployed in coherency, and they act separately after that.
yeah,
Um, they, sorry, I was thought that they needed to be placed in.
During deployment, every model in this unit must be set up at the same time, though they do not need to be set up in unit coherency. From that point onwards, each model is treated as a separate unit.
right. So essentially, it just reduces the number of drops you have by one.
Which in itself isn't too bad.
No. And then so uh, Valerian also has the Golden Laurels, which essentially is a free CP reroll, but it's a little farther limited on what you can reroll. So you can reroll a hit, a wound, or damage for a wound um, at some point during the battle, once per battle.
Yeah, it's pretty whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to have, but yeah, I don't know if it breaks or makes or breaks models.
I'm pretty
Honestly, the most interesting thing about this whole stat sheet is what the other model does, the Aleya.
The Aleya.
That has that psychic abomination ability.
right, but that's pretty standard with most of the Sisters of Silence. So
Yeah,
Oh,
they cannot be targeted or affected by psychic powers. And any psychic or deny the witch test taken within 18 inches has a -1. So they basically have Shadow in the Warp, and
pretty much.
they cannot
Yeah.
be targeted or hit by anything. So they can eat any smites that come towards the custode.
which is, I mean, that's a big problem for custodes in general is mortal wounds because
Yeah,
that's how you beat high
Well,
invulnerable saves.
and
right now,
normally they would just
go ahead, Larry.
normally they would take the assassin that does the same thing.
Right, the Inquisitor.
It does a lot more for them.
Yeah.
It's an assassin, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
So
you're
there's an
talking
assassin
about
that does the same exact thing that
Okay.
absorbs all white
yeah,
smites for you.
yeah. It's a null as well. Psychic. I think it has Psychic Abomination.
And then also Aleya can reroll to wound against psychers. So that's
Yeah, that's the Witch Hunter ability,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
which I believe all of the Witch Seeker models do. Get.
She's just melee though, so
right.
Yeah.
She doesn't have.
So no
It's
guns.
it's a pretty irrelevant ability.
Yeah. And then she has 4 attacks at strength 5, -3, D3 damage. So not terrible.
Yeah, the problem is she's only Strength 3 though, so you're only swinging it at Strength 4.
Yeah.
Just a regular power sword, basically, except it's D3 damage instead of 1.
Yeah. But more importantly, the models are beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
How much is a regular shield captain?
So a regular shield captain base is 100 points. The Castellan Axe, which gives you the same profile, is an extra 5 points.
So you're paying an extra 95 points for that
For-
psychic power denial
for Aleya.
absorption thing.
So 3. But okay, so can you equip a guardian? I don't think you can equip a guardian spear and a storm shield. I think you have to do. Yeah, so a sentinel blade. So,
Yeah.
but they do have the option for it.
Right.
I believe that's how most people do take their shield captains with sentinel blade, so they can have the storm shield for the.
Yeah, and this guy has no
Yep.
option for a storm shield.
No. Let's see. Yeah. And then so when these guys originally came out, they didn't come out with all of the rules required to put them in
the army.
in the army. So they have released an FAQ. They probably let's see. So I can actually tell you when it dropped. So the FAQ for that dropped. Once I find it. Necrons, Harlequins, Gene Stealers. I could have sworn I just had it up. Saga of the Beast, Greater Good, Core Rulebook. There it is. So it released January 7th.
Yeah.
And it included a change to their points, moving them to 200 points, and then it specified.
From what?
I think it was 188 before. Gave them the Adeptus Custodes keyword so they could go in Battleforged armies, and dictated that if Valerian is your warlord, you must have the Peerless Warrior trait from the Custodes rulebook.
Which I looked it up. So that's the one that when you, I believe, hit with a 6, you get an extra attack. Taken.
Exploding sixes never hurt.
Yeah, so every time you make a hit roll of a 6 plus, 6 plus,
Okay.
with your warlord in the fight phase, it can immediately make an extra attack against the same unit using.
So yeah, it gives you exploding sixes, but you still have to roll to hit. But hitting on twos, rerolling ones, it'll hit. All but what, 1/36 of the time.
I think
Something like
we all
that.
agree that they're not super good as character models or characters to begin with, but some of the detail on this sprue is definitely pretty nice. They have very decorative.
Yeah. Like, even if you don't take the character as what it is,
Yeah.
you can use the model
Just
for a stand-in shield captain.
Yeah. Which is what I ended up doing with the Vizark. So I ended up using the Vizark as a stand-in Archon because he's a beautiful model, but I'm not gonna take a Vizark. At least in my competitive list. And for fun lists, I will.
You can see the base is really nice on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and decorative. Really cool details. So the sword that Aleya has actually says on it.
It says
I
what?
can't really read it that well. It says Solemnus.
Oh, cool.
Which is what its name is. I didn't see any detail like that on Valerian's weapon, but he's supposed to be like just a regular shield captain or have you.
Yeah.
I gotta readjust everything. Okay.
So that is Valerian and Aleya. Most likely, the Valerian and Aleya model is actually going to be a giveaway that Wet Wild and Warpy will be doing. There's more information on that to follow, so don't forget to hit subscribe. That way you get updates on links to watch videos, to learn about giveaways, to get free stuff, because that's what everyone wants. So, so what are you working on today, Larry?
I am painting a Pyrovore for Tyranids, which I have this one that's in progress, but I have this one that's basically done. I just got to finish the base. I don't know how well that comes up on the camera. It doesn't focus very well, but
That's pretty good.
I have my Tyranid paint scheme, which is orange and Uriel yellow for the base skin, and then Wog flesh and what's the other thing? Moot green for the carapace, and then just red and pink for some of the other bits. But yeah, Pyrovore. I never actually had a Pyrovore before this week. They are only in Finecast. They never had an older model like the Biovore did, so you couldn't like collect it previously and then use it in the new edition.
Right.
Right.
This is like the only version of the model, and it's Finecast, and you only can buy it in a box of 1, and you can have a unit of up to 3.
Boxes
So
of
no one.
Boxes
and
of one kills me.
they're almost $40 for one
Yeah.
of these.
So
What do you have an actual what's the other model that's similar to it? The
Biovore.
the bio.
are they the same
I-
kit or
It's not even the same kit.
No.
They look almost identical, but they're not the same
one
kit.
just has-
I really hope they update and make a plastic version that can be Biovore or Pyrovore in a box of 3. Like, I hope
That'd
they
be
do
great.
that.
for like $60?
Yeah, whatever.
Please.
I,
Please.
I'll buy
GW.
9 of them, you know?
that's what I was hoping.
But in the meantime, I have this.
Yep.
So I'm going to use this.
That's what I was hoping they were going to do with Grotesques.
No.
And no, there's
Not when they realize they
No,
can make that much money off of them because
Xenos don't get new models. No new models for Xenos. Sorry.
no Xenos love. But yeah, so
But the Pyrovore, I never got one before, but I wanted to try one for Maryland Open next week because I had some awkward points with my army. I was trying to get 2 units of Dev Gaunts in my army, and I ended up with a unit of 30 Dev Gaunts and a unit of 23 Dev Gaunts. And 23 was just kind of an awkward number.
right.
It's high enough where it's 9 power levels, so if I want to put in reserves, I have to spend a whole CP for
Right.
that and put nothing else in reserves. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do with 3 Dev Gaunts worth of points, which is 21 points? Well, the Biovore is 28 points. I can almost fit one of those in. What's a Biovore going to do for me? Well, they're only 1 power level, so if I put the unit of 20 Dev Gaunts in strategic reserves for that same CP, I can also put the Biovores in
Right.
strategic reserves with them, which replaces the Lictors that I have. So I have 2 Lictors. I would just replace one of them, and I could fit in 2 Pyrovores. So just because of this small little niche case, I'm using Pyrovores and trying them out. They actually do decent damage though for their weight.
Well, yeah. I mean, so they're rocking the flamethrower, which of course because
Yeah,
it's
for
Tyranids,
28
it's not actually flames probably.
Yeah, for 28 points, you get a 10-inch flamer that does strength 5, AP 1, damage 1, D6 shots. And it's assault, so you can advance with
Did they
it.
not update that with 9th edition to be 12 inches?
No, they made it 10 inches.
It did get extra distance though, right?
No,
No.
nothing like that.
No.
Good
No.
job.
Nothing changed for that.
10 inches.
Showing
And it's
some
got this
bug love.
big base. It's got a 60 millimeter base. So if you want a unit of 3 of them, there's almost no way you can deep strike them or strategic reserves them. They have all 3 of them be in range of the same unit. You could do it with 2 of them though, not too bad.
Yeah. But that third one.
But in addition to that, if they take a wound in the fight phase, if they lose a wound, so if they take damage,
Right.
then I roll a die on a 6 that does a mortal wound to the attacker, and they have 4 wounds.
Generally, you have to pay for that.
So if you
got like flame blood or whatever, right?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
addition to that, when one of them dies, you roll a die on a 4-up, they explode for 1 mortal wound to the nearest enemy unit within 3 inches. It doesn't hit everything, just hits the nearest enemy unit. So basically,
Within 3 inches is pretty nice though.
if you charge them and you kill them in melee, I'm rolling, if for both of them, I'm rolling 8 dice, any 6s do immortal, and then I roll 2 dice, and on a 4-up I do immortal.
Yeah.
It's just kind of amusing. In addition to that, they're flamers, so
Right.
I could Overwatch for 2d6.
Most likely you
It's
got
like-
overwatched for 2d6.
With the Drakari being so prominent right now, I figured, well, let's make something annoying for them to kill. Like, they have 4 wounds, they can't just kill them with pistols.
Yeah.
If they want to waste a Dark Lance on them, whatever. I've got monsters that you could shoot instead. I don't know why you would use the Dark Lance on them.
Because they're bothering me.
So the only other way to kill them is to charge them, in which case I'm going to punish you for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're not shooting your dark lances at the what is it, the Diametra?
Yeah, the Demetron or the Hyrule or Swarmlord
Yeah.
or Flyerant, or there's a lot of other targets for them to shoot a Dark Lance at.
I generally find that there is almost never a lack of targets. to shoot a Dark Lance at. There's all
Because you don't have enough shots.
Yeah, I don't have enough Dark Lances.
Yeah.
So
You have one per raider.
yeah, so I was watching a battle report the other day, and I think it took them, what was it, 13 Dark Lances to bring down the Silent King, plus a unit of Scourge Heat Lances.
Yeah, I
So,
believe it.
I think
It just-
math checks on that.
It's because it's actually 3 models, and
Right.
those 2 models have 6 wounds, so they will usually take 2 Dark Lances each to bring down. So that's
Usually.
4 before you even get to the actual Silent King.
that's
six
before-
Plus,
wounds.
it takes 4 lances to wound him usually, just to kill one,
Well,
because
with
he's
the-
got a 4 vulnerable save.
Well, with the so with the reroll to hit, at least for Blackheart, your odds drastically go up because for whatever reason, to hit is the problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Does Blackheart give you reroll to wounds or no?
No. So it's just you get to reroll 1 die when you shoot as a Blackheart model. So as a raider,
So that
with,
could be to wounds.
no, just a hit.
Oh,
Just a hit.
okay.
The,
You just said 1 die. So you mean
yeah.
1 die to hit.
1 die to hit. So, and then there's a different one. I believe Flayed Skull does essentially the same thing, but to wound. But there are other benefits to Blackheart that put it kind of above Flayed Skull, at least in my mind, in the pecking order. Because Blackheart is also moved up 1 on the Power from Pain chart. And as we all know, that's where Drukari get their...
Don't tell Paul, but I still have one of his shield captains here.
So I know this topic wasn't brought up before we started, but why don't we talk about the interesting thing people have found about the charge ranges for deep striking against a raider?
If any,
So
if anyone does this, you are the garbage people. No, I don't mean that.
no.
but
It's raw, you know?
it's raw, but it's not spirit, right?
All right, so before we get to, let's explain what this is. So
Yeah.
when you deep strike or do come in from reserves from some ability, it's
Right.
usually you have to arrive outside 9 inches.
Right.
Okay. Let's say your model's floating off the ground, i.e. raiders. So you arrive here, and the raiders here, which means you arrive 9 inches, means that you have a less than 9-inch charge
Right.
to
Technically.
get to the raider.
Technically.
Technically, because engagement range is now 1 inch horizontally and 5 inches vertically. So you don't have to get within 1 inch of the model. You just have to get within 1 inch horizontally.
Right.
But deep strike is just be outside 9 inches, not
Right.
9 inches horizontally.
No.
So that means if the model has any sort of height,
Yeah.
or has a piece or sprue that is hanging out more than where the base is touching the
Well-
ground, then you can deep strike 8 and
Right.
charge 8 inches.
Then, but that's
Did you
like
not also measure to the sails on the boat?
no. Well,
Sure, but how are those going to be inside 9
I mean,
inches?
they might be outside
Like,
a little bit further than.
right.
it doesn't
Especially-
matter
like,
because
especially if they're
vertical.
taller, right?
But
And
that
you're
doesn't
measuring
matter.
to the top of the sail.
Stop.
Well,
It doesn't matter
yeah.
because vertical engagement range is 5 inches,
Right.
and you only measure to the base of the model arriving from deep strike.
Right.
All measurements for all models are with the base, unless specified otherwise. Raiders specify you measure to the hull.
Right.
Which means
Okay.
so because there's this little
So
triangle.
your base is flat with the ground,
Right.
so it doesn't matter how tall the sails are, as long as you're within as long as you're outside 9 inches.
Oh, the deep
the
strike
model.
in specific says you measure base to base. What you're saying?
No.
So when you come
All
in,
right.
right?
Draw
I
me
got
a
it.
scenario where the sail is going to prevent you from getting within 9 inches.
They're up here.
Right. No, I'm. Don't make me break out the geometry.
All right.
Right.
So here's essentially what it is.
Jason, you have the models. Get the
Yeah.
models.
So
Let's show it.
from the bottom of any vehicle that flies, and it's not on the ground. Down and over, right? So which would be your charge distance. But your 9 inches is that diagonal that runs to the model's base, right? So no matter what, as long as there's space up, this is shorter than your 9 inch, right? So technically,
We're talking about I thought we were talking about the models being inside, like elevated inside of buildings and stuff like that.
No,
no,
no. The
We're talking
model.
about the opposite.
right?
Yes. So the
Right.
model arrives on the ground, and the vehicle is a hovering vehicle, slightly elevated.
But
So if you are just outside 9 inches from the elevated vehicle, that means your charge range is less than 9 inches.
But this is
What
not
you're
something
saying
that
is
I
you
would
just
try
need
to
to
do
be
at a
the
tournament.
extra dirt person who like adds like an extra inch on their base.
Well, this is not. So this is not
Just to
something
float a
that I
little
would.
higher.
I would not try to pull this at a tournament though, because
I think it should be pulled out of tournament because this is GW's rules. Like
Yeah.
it's perfectly valid.
yeah,
I mean, if you're allowed to deploy your models underneath your Raider,
right.
then I should be able to use that distance for charging you as well.
Um, yeah.
I mean, there's a difference, but I feel like
When in doubt, ask your TO.
Sure.
Being
Yeah.
a dirtbag
When in
player.
doubt, ask your TO. So today I'm painting some mandrakes. Well, not technically. I'm painting some chain gas from the Night Hunt army that I'm going to be using as mandrakes because mandrakes are still fine cast. And I don't want to deal with that. So I bought me some plastic models that look really cool and I like that I'm going to use instead. So the nice part about mandrakes is that they're -1 to hit, period. It doesn't matter if it's in the fight phase, it doesn't matter if it's in shooting phase, they're -1 hit, period. What are you showing us, Alex?
I'm trying to show you guys the mold lines on this. Look at that.
Get out the razor.
Yeah,
I'm
break your file out.
gonna have to break out the old nail file. Jesus.
So yeah, mandrakes are always -1 to hit. It doesn't matter if it's in shooting or close combat. They have a 5-up invulnerable save naturally, so you don't have to worry about waiting for it from Power from Pain. They can fade away from the table and come back on the next movement phase, and they can forward deploy. So these guys just have a ton of utility, and it's 75 points for 5. So they're not ridiculously priced. I wouldn't say they're underpriced, but I'd say they're kind of almost spot on where they need to be. And then, so what I'm doing is essentially my best attempt to do a wet blend with black and neon green. That way I can get that a nice,
The glow in the dark.
yeah, glow in the dark neon green. It actually is.
I just would like to point out that I told Jason that he should just highlight neon green, and it would look fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
But he refuses.
well, when the
He refuses.
when the wet blend doesn't come out well, it was a highlight. Right? It's an edge highlight if it doesn't come out well. So.
Yeah, that's what I was shooting for all along.
Oh yeah. Never let anyone tell you that you did something wrong. You just go, no, I did what I meant to do.
It's a happy accident.
Right. I did what I meant to do, and this is how it looks, because that's what I wanted. So what do you? So are you working on building those models today, Alex?
Yeah, I was gonna keep painting my blood.
Well, Jason, why do you like mandrakes?
So
Because it seems like there's more efficient models in the Codex.
there are very efficient models in the Codex. This is true, but mandrakes have you can run 9 of them, and in my current list, 9 equals out to 135 points, and 135 points is the highest point value in my army at the moment.
It's the magic number for while we stay and we fight.
Right. So essentially what it does is creates them as an option for while we stand we fight. So if I'm afraid before the game that I'm going to get tabled, I can go, okay, I can still take while we stand we fight, keep them off the table until my turn 3. Then on my turn 4, take them off the table and bring them back on turn 5. So it limits.
Based on the
Why do you have to wait
Sir.
till turn 3? To put them.
well, he has to arrive from strategic
Right,
reserves.
I have to.
Oh,
I have to
okay,
arrive
yeah.
by turn 3. So basically, what it's doing is it's limiting my opponent's ability to prevent me from scoring this secondary. Am I going to want to do that every game? No, because I like their shooting, and if I can protect them as a backline unit, I'd rather just have them back there to throw out some shots against like some engage on all fronts models or something like that. Just something to kind of throw some extra shots at. But in games where I'm worried, I can hide them. Plus, they can also score me scramblers, right? So they show up.
What kind of gun do the Mandrakes have?
So the Mandrakes have something called Bale Blast, I believe. So it is a Assault 2, Strength 4, -1/1 damage. And then 6s to wound with it, deal mortals. So
Okay.
I have 2 units of 9, which means I'm getting 18 shots, hitting on 3s, wounding on probably 4s, maybe 3s if I'm going after just a tiny unit. But the biggest thing is that if you can land a couple of those 6s in the wound phase, then you just essentially force your opponent to just pick something up, and then they're safe again. So, and then that also the disappearing from the table ability is at the start of the movement phase, and there is no limitation on that. So there is no if you're outside of an inch of enemy models, if you're outside 3 inches, it's just disappear. So even if they get in trouble and get caught up in close combat, they can just fade away and show up next turn somewhere else where they're safer. And they're surprisingly hard to kill.
What matchup would you do that against? Because Dark Elder right now in GTs have an 86% win rate. So when would you ever be worried about being tabled?
That's fair. So Knights and Admech are my list doesn't do well into those lists.
Specifically, Mark Hartle's Admech.
I've never done well into Mark Hurdle's Admech. There are other Admech lists that can also pump out a large number of shots. I'm betting that since enough people have seen some Drukari information at this point, we're probably going to start seeing like some more bolt rifle lists, some more Raven Guard lists, just Space Marine chapters that can pump out those shots.
You think that people are gonna go
And there's a
back
lot
to
of
the Space
people that
Marines as their first option?
What did you say?
I don't know why they would.
What?
He asked if people would go back to Space Marines as a counter option, but I don't think Space Marines are a very good counter.
I feel like that's why a lot of people moved off of Space Marine.
Well, so
Was because Drukari.
the people who play Space Marines are gonna play Space Marines. And then there's people who play like every army, right? And then they're just gonna pick the flavor of the month this month. But so enough people have Marine armies at this point that you're gonna see Marines on the table. I think you're gonna see the number of Marine players drop a little bit, but you'll still see them there. They'll show up. And then
You say that, and I've done 2 GTs this year, and I haven't faced Marines yet.
but they were there. You just didn't play them.
Yeah, they were there.
Lucky you.
You know,
Lucky me, I want to play against Marines. I've got damage 2 weapons out the wazoo.
He's built for it.
You'd get stuck against the Dark Angels player that just doesn't care.
Or the Death Guard.
I have played against Death Guard. They're fine.
Death Guard's
I
not
just
too bad.
run circles around
the
them.
New, which one is it? The Contemptor Dreadnought with Volkite is pretty gross.
Yeah.
It can pump out quite a bit of. Kind of got to get a little. It's a little swingy because if you don't hit any sixes to wound, you know.
That's a Death Guard thing, right?
No, that's just the Volkite, Valerian or whatever it's called does.
What faction is that for?
That's any of the Chaos Space Marine factions can bring them.
Okay, so there was a Death Guard guy I played against that had 2 of those. It's like it pumps out like 16 shots or something like that.
16 shots per model.
Yeah. So the issue with those is they need line of sight, and we play with a lot of LOS blockers.
Yeah.
So I just kind of hid the whole game,
Yeah.
and he couldn't score.
So I do think that we may start seeing a return of the Eldari. And I'm not specifically talking about Drukhari only.
What do
You mean something like Sean Naden with the Dark Reaper spam with Night Spinners?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So I think some people are going to start bringing like a paired version of it. Even though you lose power from pain from Drukhari, there are models in the Drukhari army that do not need it. Because
specifically anything with purifiers.
Right. So do you need the invulnerable saves on the Incubi? Probably not really, because they die so fast anyway. You get what you get out of them.
They're literally a bomb.
Right. They hit super hard, and then they're probably dead.
Do Rax come with an invulnerable?
So no. No.
No, they're just gonna feel no pain.
They come up with a 5-up feel no pain. But they don't.
And then
I don't.
What is it?
Right, so the witches come with an invulnerable save. A 4-up in close combat, and they may even still come with a 6-up from shooting. But I think everything else gets its invulnerable save from power from pain. But if you're sticking a raider hiding it behind a building until it comes out to hit you, it's not a super big deal if it has an invulnerable save.
That's the thing that's been so successful for Drukhari, is that they're glass cannons, but their transports aren't really that glassy.
Yeah. Well, they're not
for the points. They're pretty difficult to kill.
Yeah. Well, they're difficult to kill in mass.
Yeah.
Right. You can kill 2 a turn. Most armies can probably kill 2 a turn. But when there's 5 or 6 on the table, losing 2 on turn 1 isn't as big of a deal. Because you just move the other ones up the table. So, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at the Maryland Open, because I think it may be a good test of how is the meta gonna adapt, and what future events are gonna look like, at least until the next codex drops.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
The meta shifts again.
Yeah. Speaking of the Maryland Open, we will be streaming at the Maryland Open, so if you hit the subscribe button, you'll get notifications about when that stream starts and how long it runs and when the next day starts.
Bell icon.
Yeah.
Bell icon. Get notifications.
So yeah. So what's your list looking like right now, Alex?
My list?
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
No, but I mean in general.
Just in general? I think I want to switch it up and play some uh, demons with some Nurgling spam.
Yeah.
I feel like with Space Marines and Drukhari being my main, and not just like Ultramarines or whatever, but like Chaos Space Marines too, being
Right.
all adversaries. I think demons could pull out a few wins that would otherwise be tough. Nurglings are really good at playing the objective game
They
because
are.
they're very hard to displace. The 5-up invulnerable save.
Could you do the demon monster mash with like Mortarion and Magnus and
Much
the
less
Keeper?
doable now because of
I mean, do you
how
have the
command
models to do
point
it?
intensive it is. Because you're running two.
Is it?
You're running two Supreme Commandment. I'm assuming you're probably gonna make Mortarion your Warlord because he gets all those extra benefits for being.
He does get all those extra benefits. What does he lose?
Well, I just saw an Art of.
Well, maybe he only loses the Arch Contaminator trait.
I know that
I think he also loses the sort of host of plagues ability.
So I know that there's at least a couple people out there running full Monster Mash at the moment. I think there's one list that includes like 3 Keepers of Secrets or something.
Yeah.
And then
So I saw a list on the Art of War channel that was interesting. It was Magnus, Mortarion, I think a Keeper of Secrets, not the super elite one, but the regular one. And I think the whole point of the list though was, or the one thing that makes it stand out was the pink horrors.
Yeah.
That it summoned. So they had a whole lot of points it could summon stuff. So it would summon a whole unit of pink horrors, and then what you could do with them is move block some stuff after they start summoning things, or like splitting.
Right.
So it's like if someone's setting up for a charge and they shoot some of the horrors, then you can just go, okay, well this now turns into 2 models, this turns into 2 models, and here's now a huge line of stuff that's in your way.
And you don't have to
Or
worry.
I wasn't on that objective. Oh, now I am on that objective.
Right. And you don't have to worry too much about coherency, at least at that point, because you're breaking into 2 models. Right? So you can just put those 2 models.
I mean, you do still have to worry about it.
You do.
You just have to worry about it, but it's easier to handle because you're making 2 models, and you can just make a chain of 2 models.
Right. You just put 2 models 2 inches away from the last 2 models.
The only thing you have to worry about is probably at that point, unless because you can only use the
Insane Bravery
strategy one time per game.
Yeah, but you just roll 1s and win.
Yeah, just roll 1s.
The what strategy? The morale one?
Yeah. The Insane Bravery strat.
I mean,
Insane Bravery. Like, say they kill, 20 horrors or whatever in a turn, which is...
The thing is, morale's not that bad.
Morale doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, it's not that bad.
I love the new morale system with a 30 blob of dev guns.
God,
okay, you killed 15. Alright. Now I roll a die. I have a 1 in 6 chance of just not losing anything else.
Yep.
And then if I did lose something else, I then roll 14 dice, and only 1s and 2s kill more.
Right.
So what used to be, I lost 15 guys, I roll low, and then I lose 13 more.
Yep.
Now it's, I lose like 4. Yeah. Morale is not a big deal for a big unit anymore.
Yeah, so I was playing Birdsong's Orcs, and my unit of witches knocked down 23 orcs from a unit in 1 turn.
As long as you have 3 models left, you'll probably live morale.
Right. So, and he was just like, okay, I'll roll for morale, and it didn't. That was like fantastic. The morale's. I almost wish 7th edition morale was back, where your models started running off the table against your will. just because it's a fun mechanic.
Yeah.
I-
Morale not mattering anymore. Sure, it makes like synapse kind of irrelevant.
Right. Well, it also makes a lot of the leadership debuff stuff
Good thing that's
kind of
not
irrelevant.
your main army's ability.
So. Alright. So, how's that pirate war coming?
Slow.
Yeah.
I take my time. Like one pyro war will take me 3 or 4 hours of detail work.
He's not pretty. But when I first got it done.
Done? You finished him in, what was this, 20 minutes?
Well, I mean,
Alright.
I still need to do his base, and I still
There's slightly different standards between the
there are.
different people here.
So
No. There's a reason why I'm painting
yeah.
the Valerian
So-
and Aleya model and not Jason.
So I very specifically paint a tabletop standard. And that's because I don't have the skill. Really, I don't dedicate the time into painting that.
There we go. You corrected yourself. That's the
I
right
did.
answer.
Because I could have the skill.
Anybody can have the skill.
Yeah. Anybody can have the skill, but it takes time, and I have a lot of projects going on. One of which is 40K. So yeah, I just don't put the
It's
time.
just
to
this
paint.
little minor project that you work on
Yeah.
sometimes.
Just every now and then.
Just
Yeah.
whenever it's convenient.
When I can find time to 40K, I like to. But right. Well, I am gonna keep working on these mandrakes tonight.
Yep. I've got a wild dungeon to get to.
All right. Alex, you gonna finish those models today?
Probably not. I might get Valerian done and
Yeah.
start kind of scheming up some colors.
Well, in a future hobby track video, we'll be sure to show anything that we finished that have been donated to us.
I'm gonna
Yes.
attempt to record some painting stuff that I'm doing with this one. I may attempt some non-metallic metal, which I've never done before, and it might have to get repainted after I'm done.
But yeah, so what should end up happening is you should end up being able to, once the models are finished, go ahead and watch a video of them being painted and how they were painted, and we kind of give you a little help on maybe your Valerian and Aleya or other models if you wanted to do a similar scheme. And then we'll also do a separate video talking specifically more about where they fit into armies, how they function, things of that nature. And then, and then we'll probably do a giveaway video. So